No problem.
Because Devashis Prabhu is not able to host the meeting, so I'm sorry I was a little late. I had some service here.
No problem. And I see you're back in the office of West London Mat, West London Temple. Welcome home to.
Thank you. I'm just adjusting to everything now. So I'm all over the place. So much.
Leaving your Swedish and picking up your English and Spanish.
Yeah.
All right. So joining us in London, we've got from Brazil, Lila Shakti Devi Dasi and Lila Moi Prabhu. Two sincere, eager souls from Uberlandia. You're both in Uberlandia, is it? Or Sao Paulo? One is in Sao Paulo.
I'm in São Paulo.
You're in Sao Paulo. And Lila Moi Prabhu? Yeah. Lila Moi, where are you? In Uberlandia?
Yes, I'm from Uberlandia.
Yes, yes. All right. And, oh, really? We've got very international London because Nama Priya Didi is with us and she's coming in from Latvia, coming from the cold of Latvia. Shanti Moi is here, maybe in the kitchen nearby. Tungarasan in Norway. Rupanuga Prabhu in Australia.
Dandavat Maharaj.
Dandavat Tungarasa Didi, and I see you've adopted Navadeep Chaitanya Saraswati Mat's
yes.
policy.
Yes, I am nearby.
Beautiful. And Chintamani and Jayadev Prabhu probably nearby there in somewhere, either California or somewhere near there, in the west coast of Australia, USA. And Pradeep Sigaban, South Africa, and Pradeep will be, tell us, I can't remember the passport name. Sevarupa Didi, tell us who is Pradeep.
Dandavats Maharaj, it's Prema Sindhu.
It is Prema Sindhu. Okay, wonderful. Very welcome, Prema Sindhu Prabhu. And I'm happy to chant your glories all over the world. We appreciate those who have got special mercy from Gurudev. We appreciate their association, your association. Jai. So Prema Sindhu Prabhu, South Africa. And Sevarupa Devi Dasi from South Africa. And whoever we've mixed out, Krishna Mohini, she's in Spain. My goodness, the only place where two people are from the same place is actually, South Africa. You're from the same place, Lenasia.
Dandavat Maharaj, Dandavat.
Yes, Krishna Mohini Didi, Dandavat. Todos glorious, Ashri Guru Ishri Gauranga. Jai. All right, so we're at the West London Mat. Saraswati Didi, you've come back from your duty. You had some duty to do, and you've come back to the temple. And let us begin first by giving obeisances to each other because we're coming together. And somebody else is joining us just now. Let them. Oh, Lavanya Moi, Lavanya, Dandavat.
Okay.
All good. Good to see you all there and to be in the London temple. We brought a big congregation, so I see you're cooking. You better cook for a lot of people. We're all going to come and have, pray for your grace for prasadam after the program. And Ananda Sarupini Devi Rasi, welcome. And you were serving in the temple recently? Are you in West London or you're back home in East London now, Ananda Sarupini?
No, this one is Green Street now. Sorry, there's a funny light. Oh, the light's a bit funny. I'm back, Maharaj. So,
You're back where?
Green Street. Came
Green
back
Street.
last night.
Okay.
And
Green Street
some
Temple.
of the devotees might come and see the class, or yeah, we'll see.
All right. So Ananda Swarupini, she's been helping where there is the need of service, and service is most valuable. And she's been helping in the West London mat in the recent days while Saraswati's been away. And we've got Robert from Hampshire. Hare Krishna. Does Robert have a devotee name? I'm trying to see in the dark if I recognize your face.
I don't think we've met.
Okay.
I think this is our first. Yeah. I don't think I've seen some of your videos online, but I don't think we met in person.
And do you have a devotee name, or your name is Robert?
It's Robert at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, Robert, you're welcome. Happy to be with us.
Thank you.
And my geography isn't very good, but Hampshire is not so far away from West London.
That's correct. Yeah, about an hour.
About an hour. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So wonderful. And Jim Seymour. Jim is with us with photograph of beautiful Radha and Krishna. Jim, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances.
And mine to you.
Haribol.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So we're a few minutes in, and devotees are joining us one by one. And Subhasini also joined us. But let us start because others may come. And so Subhasini, to you and to all of the devotees all the way between Australia and around the world, north and south. Let us come together in the West London beautiful temple, and there let us come together in the temple room and give our obeisances to each other. So Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. And now Saraswati Didi had better just remind us the proper title of the deities in West London.
Sorry. Sorry, I'm trying to, 1 second.
You need to turn the microphone off on your mobile phone.
Pon esta computadora ya, por favor, en la mesa. Sorry. I'm just, yes, I have to turn this.
Okay, we can hear you clearly now, no problem. Just ask.
Shri Guru Gauranga Sundar Radha Giridhar Ji Ki Jai.
Shri Guru Gauranga Sundar Radha Giridhari Ju. Ki Jai. Okay. Shri Guru Gauranga Sundar Radha Giridhari Ju. Yes, we need to put that into our DNA for our obeisances. So the presiding deities of the London mat, Shri Guru Gauranga Radha Giridhari Ju. And Radha Giridhari Ju is the Giriraj Shila, and Gauranga Sundar, the deity of Gauranga. And perhaps we'll have darshan of them later so that everybody can also have darshan of the deities in the temple room. And here we are, where, believe it or not, I had to write the date on something just a short while before we joined. And I couldn't believe I'm writing down 22nd of November, 2021. And I've been writing dates and keeping a record of putting dates on things, since we were maybe, I don't know how old, 11 years old, going to the secondary school. Then we putting dates on things. So since 1966, now I'm astounded I'm writing 2021. So a little personal experience to say about the speed of time, and described that time is the imperceptible speed of time. We cannot understand how quickly time is passing, but it is passing. It is not slow motion, it is the opposite of slow motion. Here, the London deity, Shishu Guru Gauranga Sundar Radha Giridhariju Ki Jai. Nicely served there, very nicely served in West London, in a beautiful, beautiful temple room. And maybe we'll get an opportunity to see a picture of the outside of the temple. Now it's no doubt it's dark there now, but the place that came in West London came actually quite miraculously, because devotees had looked for a long time for a place. Means it was Guru Maharaj's desire, and in Guru Maharaj's time, then in fact a place was purchased, but then out of circumstance another place had to be purchased later on, and Gurudev wanted very much that we'll get a nice place close to Heathrow Airport and suitable for an ashram and for devotees to stay when they're in transit, if traveling also. And this temple in London, it looks religious. It's perhaps an old, maybe an annex to a church or something like that, or where the priest lived, I'm not sure. But it has these windows which go up and are pointed, they're pointed, and it's a listed building. It's an old building. And somehow or another, people didn't want to buy it, perhaps because it looked like something like a church. And anyhow, the devotees miraculously were able to get this very close to Heathrow Airport, literally walking distance to Heathrow Airport. And they've got everything officially there, so they can do Sankirtan, they can cook for the public, everything in a legal way. And the temple in West London, we are actually joining there now from different places. And some of you will join with us in different programs.
Not yet.
Are you cutting like this?
And maybe, are you free, Saraswati? Would you like to give a little?
Sorry, Maharaj. I'm just, there is, you see, they're preparing here for tomorrow's prasad distribution. So I have to.
Okay.
I have to show them. Sorry.
No problem. Saraswati, she's multitasking all the time, and a very good example for us all. Anyway, we can perhaps hear the authorized history of the West London mat on another occasion. Saraswati is busy just now. But it's a wonderful place, and so we are remembering Gurudev's desire and Guru Maharaj's desire and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's desire, that there will be a representation, there will be a place of Gauranga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's preaching and teaching in London. And this really has come about very nicely there at the Bhakti Yoga Institute, Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Math, West London Center. So another time we can maybe have a look around and see some pictures of outside, etc. All right, we've come together, and we can definitely ask questions, but just before we ask you if you'd like to ask any questions, I can just read one or two short excerpts. And this is from Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj. And looking for okay. I just need to find, I kept on reading before. I need to find the place that I selected that I was going to read to you. Yes, okay. I've just got some very short selection, because always what we want to do is to bring you Gurudev, means Srila Govinda Maharaj, bring you Guru Maharaj, means Srila Sridhar Maharaj, because this is the identity of Chaitanya Saraswati Math. Gurudev Govinda Maharaj, he's bringing us Guru Maharaj. He's making Guru Maharaj accessible to us, both when we go to India, but also the understanding of who he is. This has become very much clarified and made available to us through Srila Govinda Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj. So, Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Maharaj ki Jai, and Jai Srila Bhakti Rupa Sridhar Maharaj ki Jai, and Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai, our Sri Rupanuga Guru Vaga ki Jai, and of course Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai, and our present day Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Brinda ki Jai. So we already said, okay, let us say 3 prayers to begin with. Om Gyan Timarandasya. This is the pranam mantra to Guru. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha to the devotees, and Namo Mahavadanyaya to Mahaprabhu. So let us say these 3 prayers, but together, but keep your microphone off, otherwise the delay makes a little confusion. So, Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Anmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitan Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Goratvijay Namaha. And we can chant to Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Garadhara, Sri Vas Adi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'll read you just very short, some meditations if you like. But here's Srila Govinda Maharaj, and this is his own writing, some excerpt from letters. And he's writing, we are servitors of Srila Guru Maharaj, means Srila Sridhar Maharaj, who manifested himself as a superior Paramahamsa. And then in brackets, and this is Gurudev's brackets, the nature of a Paramahamsa is to be able to separate service from the unwanted things of the mundane world, as a swan takes only the milk from a mixture of milk and water. So that's the brackets that Gurudev himself put there. So I'll reread it because it's a sentence, it's part of the sentence. So from the beginning. We are servitors of Srila Guru Maharaj, who manifested himself as a superior Paramahamsa and who gave his directives in a practical way. Therefore, we shall try to separate the milk from the water for his service, from that example we just heard. The world situation now everywhere is in a very difficult position, and the mentality of the general mass is going in the way of atheism. But we cannot interrupt our own transcendental service to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. And this is from more than 30 years ago that Srila Gurudev wrote this. So it is not just today we think that, oh, the world is going in a very atheistic way today. It's the nature of the world for a long time. So that's the first excerpt I'm just reading here. And now the second excerpt from Gurudev's letters, he's saying, by the mercy of our Gurudev, practically we are reading and practicing within the same class as Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Narad, Lord Shukadev, etc. But when any disturbance of destruction will come like chaos in our practicing life, then we must steadily try to get a good, merciful Vaishnavas association and try to follow the guidelines of Srila Guru Maharaj. And one more, okay? This is from Gurudev, again from his letters. Sankirtan means that all together we are chanting the holy names and offering service wholeheartedly to our Divine Master and our Lord. Krishna only looks at this qualification and no other. Here, our beloved Srila Guru Maharaj began the great Sankirtan fire sacrifice. And up to date, I am seeing that Sankirtan fire day by day spreading all over the world through his devotees. All the devotees are trying wholeheartedly to fuel that fire. Each one is like an auspicious stick of wood, fully dedicating himself for the exaltation of Srila Guru Maharaj by entering into the Sankirtan fire sacrifice. These sticks are burning happily because they do not receive pain, only purification. I feel myself to be fully satisfied that I have offered myself for my Divine Master's desire, and that you are all also always trying to fulfill the desire of his divine grace. Hare Krishna. And one last excerpt, it's 4 lines, Gurudev saying, it is my only prayer to you all that you must look to this central mat, Sri Chaitanya Saraswati mat, where there is continuous service to the deities and Srila Guru Maharaj, as well as the living Sankirtan fire sacrifice, which is always continuing here. And of course, Srila Gurudev is referring to Sri Chaitanya Saraswati mat of Srila Guru Maharaj and Srila Gurudev. Anyhow, these are some wonderful excerpts which giving us inspiration, giving me inspiration, adding fuel to our fire. So what is our process? To share whatever we find is good. If we have some good candy, we want to share that with everybody. If we have something which is valuable, which is appreciated by, we see ourselves and by others around us, then we want to share that, not keep it to ourselves. Hare Krishna. So Jai Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Maharaj. Today we've heard some of his words today, and really we always need to hear from the realized section. Means we are reading the scriptures to hear from the realized section, to understand the reality of devotional service and our fortunate connection with them. Hare Krishna. So now I can ask, I can throw the doors open and ask any question from anybody or any comment you'd like to make. And I see Govinda Nandini Didi has joined us also from Brazil. Welcome in the meantime. Hare Krishna in your wooden house. Jai. Wooden house in Krishna's nature and surrounded with nearby trees. The Gurudev, when he was in Brazil, he saw these trees. They're big fir trees, tall fir trees, and their branches, they kind of turn up. They turn up at the edges. And Gurudev said, these are sages waiting for a devotee to come. Correct, Govinda Nandini? He said they are great.
Yes,
these are sages waiting for a devotee to come to liberate them.
And there is no pain, Maharaj, only purification, as you read now.
Jai, thank you for listening. Yes, really. Any question from any quarter?
So when it said we're in the same, I can't remember the words, but the same position as Brahma and the demigods?
Yes, the same class. The
Same class. What was he talking about there? How can we be like that?
Okay. So, Robert, I'm not sure how much how much background you've got, how much you've heard from the devotees, but the Vedas, the Vedic knowledge, and if you see a painting, you won't see a photograph of Lord Brahma, but if you see a painting perhaps of Lord Brahma, he's generally seen holding in one hand the 4 Vedas,
Right.
like the 4 departments of the Vedas. But what is the conclusion of all of this knowledge, the vast knowledge in the Veda? So the beginning knowledge is selflessness, and you are not your body, things like this, and then how to do good things and not bad things. But there's so much information and so many departments. But what is the conclusion of all of this knowledge? And the great yogis, the great mystics, the great meditationists, the great prayers, religious persons, they are all searching and trying to understand the conclusion. Here is good advice, here is good advice, but what is the goal and conclusion of all of this? The purpose of knowledge, the purpose of Veda, etc. And what has been given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, Gaura Nitai, very recently, means 500 years ago approximately, they have shown us the Vedas, the authenticity of the ancient Vedic writings, which have essentially come mainly from Vyasadeva. And he put into black and white what was recorded previously by hearing. Recorded means hearing, remembering, and then passing on to the next generation. But Veda Vyas, then he put into book form the Vedas, and then Veda Vyas, he himself gave the conclusion, which is Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gauranga, Gauranitai, they put the spotlight on the Srimad Bhagavatam. And not that we should be carried away with so many other departments of knowledge. And then in Srimad Bhagavatam, the finest theistic conceptions being given there. So hence, searching for that finest conclusion, if you like, this is the same class as Shiva, Brahma, etc. And this has been brought to us by the grace of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, specifically, we can say, to point out Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Bhakti Rakakshidha Maharaj, who continuing his sampradaya, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, who has brought this all over the world, introduced the world to Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, to Srila Saraswati Thakur, to Srila Sridhar Maharaj also, and by Srila Govinda Maharaj, whose writing just now we read some excerpts from.
Yeah.
And so this is actually very good you ask, because this is one of the things which kind of wakes us up a little bit of how fortunate we are and how rare it is that we're coming into contact to even be able to like open the window and look in through the window of such a classroom. But this is what the opportunity we have got by the grace of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Govinda Maharaj, and Srila Prabhupada, who are giving us Srila Saraswati Thakur, who is giving us in a journey, in a path, Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, some names you may have heard, and Rupa Goswami presenting us pure, clean, sweet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's conception, which is then again coming to Srimad Bhagavatam. And Mahaprabhu is distributing, giving, not just showing, but is distributing access to that finest plane. So here Gurudev said that we are in the same class and practicing. Yes. It says, by the mercy of our Gurudev, means Srila Sridhar Maharaj, practically we are reading and practicing within the same class as Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Narad, Lord Shukadev, etc. Hare Krishna. It is a very good reminder.
So they're servants of Krishna, and the conclusion of the Bhagavatam is to serve Krishna. Is that what it's saying?
Loving service to Sri Krishna. Yes.
Loving service. Okay.
And Bhagavatam is the conclusion of the Vedas. So there are many departments of the Vedas, which often is promoting like good things in the world. In other words, trying to bring us from degradation to some pious consciousness. But beyond piety, there is divinity, because piety will give a good future in this life and or in the next life and lives. But still, it doesn't take us out from birth and death, old age, disease, and the dangers of living in the material world. But the divine life, the divinity side, which is service to Krishna, service to Govinda, loving, affectionate service, that life is eternal, wide awake and joyful, or wide awake and joyful, and like healthy joyful, not exploiting joyful. And that's actually our home. And this is the search for reality brings us to this conception when we are guided by Gauranga and by our Guru Maharaj and Gurudev. It is very rare to come across, and if we can recognize this, we should utilize our fortune, as Gurudev would also say. Not to waste our time. After all, I wrote here, 22nd of November, 2021. Unbelievable. Imperceptible speed of time. We mustn't waste, or we shouldn't waste any time. We should be conscious and focused. Now that we have a purpose for our life, a direction for our energy. When we don't have a proper purpose, then okay, it's good to do this sport or that sport, or we can think many things which can just pass our time. But there is a bigger purpose than only living in this world, being successful. So we've got food, we've got a shelter, we've got family, we've got some health, we've got a little money. But the animals are all doing the same things. But the human life is meant for this journey, to break the cycle of birth and death. Hare Krishna. And Bhagavan Prabhu joined us from Venezuela, making even more international from Venezuelan contingent. Dandavat Prabhu, welcome. Hare Krishna. Govinda, Govinda. And actually, Premasindra Prabhu, I don't know if you have the opportunity to say something, but we would all be very happy to hear a word or two from yourself if you're available and able to do so. Just something, a little description of Govinda Maharaj's nature, because you know his nature. Maybe not available. All right, no problem. Hare Krishna. Yes, any question, any other question from some other quarter? Or it doesn't have to be a question. It can be something that you have read. We are here on Zoom and we trying, we feel we've come together in the London temple, we're seated together, so we are able to talk with each other. It's not a one-way conversation. Yes.
Maharaj?
Yes, Jim, yes.
I think it was about, 20 or 21 years ago that I came across an essay by Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And it was entitled Sounds, Sounds, Sounds. And he was referring to how there's different types of pollution in the world. There's water pollution, air pollution, but the number one primary pollution is polluted sound. And how the ethers are filled with deceptive lies and Maya and rubbish. And it was such a powerful essay. I still have it somewhere in a file. But that was my first introduction to him. And it really was impressed upon my heart. I love that essay about the importance of hearing purified sounds. So I just wanted to share that. It's something that was very significant in my humble journey.
Jai, wonderful. What resonates with you, then we are very happy to hear that. And Guru Maharaj, yes, he's saying about sound pollution. And Guru Maharaj also, whether it's that same article, I don't know, because I don't exactly know the articles. I know Som, which was actually in Brazilian. They made a booklet made up of, and som in Portuguese means sound, sound, sound. Correct? Lila Moy? Or Lila Shakti? Correct? Yes, okay. Som in Portuguese means sound, sound, sound. And Guru Maharaj, he's explaining about pollution. And there's so many things in explaining about the lies of the lawyers causing also pollution into the ether, which comes down like this. But Guru Maharaj also pointing out about the opposite of pollution, purification. And the very means of purification is to distribute the holy name, the sound again, but divine sound, the sound of the holy name of the Lord. Our name and us, we are different, but the Lord and his name, they are non-different. And so Guru Maharaj gives an example that we are all, and he points out that we're all familiar now with pollution. You know, factories give off pollution, the chimney gives pollutions, like you're saying, Jim, sound pollution. But there must be something which also emanates purification, that emanates the opposite of pollution. And what is that? That is the devotees, the Vaishnavas, those who are chanting the Lord's holy name. And in this, again, coming back to the Vedas, coming back to the scriptures and the conclusion of the scriptures, that the sound of the holy name is the very sacrifice and duty for us. It's the religious practice for this age of Kali. And the very famous verse, Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalau, Nasti Eva, Nasti Eva, Nasti Eva, Gatiranyata. That certainly there's no other way, certainly no other way, certainly no other way, except the chanting of the holy name, chanting of the holy name, chanting of the holy name. And so we see everywhere in serious religion, we see everywhere this emphasis on the holy name of the Lord, because everywhere is actually trying to give us some introduction to the Yuga Dharma, what is our best activity to do, and the chanting of the Lord, congregationally and with whole heart, is known as Sankirtan. And so the sacrifice for this age is the Sankirtan Yagya. Yagya means sacrifice. And another of those examples we read just now gives the idea of how the Yagya in India is often, people say, oh, they're going to hold a Yagya. they're thinking about a fire sacrifice. They make a square with some colors and organize a fire with pieces of wood, and they sanctify the wood also. They do some prayers to sanctify. Then they're putting the wood in the fire and making the flames, and then making offerings there. But the yajna for this age is the Sankirtan yajna, the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, offering ourselves in this chanting, congregational, worldwide chanting of the names of the Lord. Okay, one or two messages I'm just seeing in the chat box. Chintamani Devadasi is in Santa Barbara, California. Okay, wonderful. Why, I don't know where they are, that she and Jairefu, they're always traveling, so I'm never quite sure where they're going to turn up on the map next time around, but they're in Santa Barbara, California. Okay, and Tungarasa Dedi sending a message, holy name too. What do the both Shri stand for in Shri Prapanajivanamrita? Okay, good question. I just am clicking on your link. Oh, sound by B.R. Sridhar Maharaj. Okay, Jim. So in the chat box, then we have a link to an article called Sounds, The Descent of the Holy Name by Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. So I think, Jim, this may be the article that struck your heart that you're referring to. Thank you for that.
God. Thank you.
Jai. So thanks to Nama Priya for discovering that or researching that, finding that for us. And just before we answer Nama, thanks to Tunga Rasa Didi for finding that. Excuse me, Tunga Rasa in Norway, thank you for finding that. Nama Priya has come up with a question. And just as she's asking a question, Devashis Prabhu has come and joined us with his winter coat.
Yeah, it's cold here, man. Starting to get cold.
Starting to get cold, yes. But it's all relative. So Devashis Prabhu. So Devashis Prabhu is in East London, and he's always eager to answer a question. And because you've been hearing my voice so much, let's ask Devashis Prabhu a question. This question from Nama Priya Devidasi. What do the both Shri stand for in Shri Prapanajivanamritam? So who better to ask than Devashis Prabhu?
Well, Shri literally refers to Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi's name is Shri, but it also refers to Srimati Radharani. And when we use it as like a title, and it's Shri, then it means most holy in that way, most holy. So Shri is holy, and Shri most holy. So and this way we always invoke the feminine energy of the Lord first. So before we say Krishna, we say Shri Krishna. So that actually means Radha and Krishna. So we always give recognition to the feminine aspect of the divine by saying Shri, and Shri is always meaning that. So it's an honorific, it means it's divine, and it also represents the divine feminine aspect of the Lord. So we're always giving our obeisance there first. So at any scripture we could say Shri Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Shri Srimad Bhagavatam, and so on. But so Prapanajivanamritam, which we consider our most holy of holy books, as it's come from the lotus hands and the lotus pen of our Guru Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, then we consider Shri Prapanajivanamritam, the most holy Prapanajivanamritam. I think that's right. Maybe Maharaj can add something to that.
That sounds very perfect to me. And while you're saying that, it also gives me a little remembrance about sometimes we see the formal like title of Guru Maharaj or Gurudev, and in a very formal way, sometimes giving Ashtotara Shata Shri, Sriman, like this. Means not only Shri as like honorific and honorific, but 108 Shris.
Right. Yes.
But of course, to write 108 Shris will take a long time. And maybe you won't get exactly 108, get 107, 109. But anyway, it's much easier to write 108 Shris. So this is one like very beautiful way of giving glorification. Ashtotara Shata Shri, 108 Shris. And 108 is regarded as an auspicious number. And we chant 108 beads on the, for one round of japa is 108 beads. And 108 has various significance, and please don't ask me too much why. We accept it because it's told to us like that. There are lots of things I don't know the answers to. And you know, with Gurudev, I tried not to ask Gurudev questions. Because we very often were the intermediary between, you know, male and Guru Maharaj, but male and Gurudev, you know, or later on email and Gurudev like this. So we're sort of asking on behalf of devotees, but there are lots of things I just kind of learned from also from Gurudev's replies. There are just so many things. The questions can really go on a long time, but just to accept when we've got, okay, we do this, oh, then we do this. That's wonderful because we've got our like source, and Gurudev wants something, oh, we do. And we chant japa 108 times, okay, we chant 108 times. But somebody knows the whys, and some of it, I mean, certainly it's interesting. And Leela Shakti, did he just put in the box? In the chat box, she says, I have the PDF, but it is in Brazilian Portuguese. Som. And Leela Shakti did it. Is it? It's not, I think, this same article, but my question is, yes, we can see. Yes, she's holding it up there. Beautiful. This was made by Bhuvana Mohan Prabhu, who has passed away a few years ago, but very special devotee. Yes, very good. And you can see Leela Shakti, you know quite good English. You can see that link. You see a little above your message from Tungarasa Didi, she's put a link. Maybe you can glance at that, whether that link is similar to what is in the Som book. But I do know that devotees have told me that actually that Som book has various things in, and it's only in Portuguese and collected together by that sweet devotee, Bhuvana Mohan Prabhu, who took sannyas at the last stage of his life and became Sripad Tapasvi Maharaj. But like so many of our respectable senior devotees, has now passed away from this world. And actually, Devashis Prabhu, at the beginning of our talk today, I just needed to write down some date for something, to make a date, and it was writing down for today a note, 22nd of November 2021. And then it just kind of struck me, 2021.
I know.
And even November, just a few days ago, we are stunned. It's the beginning of Chaturmasya. It seemed like, what? Beginning of Chaturmasya? We just sort of ended Chaturmasya. And then it's the beginning of Chaturmasya. So, and again, it's autumn. You see how quickly time passes by. And it's a definitely reminder for us to utilize our moment now, whatever we can, not to make a post-dated check, but to try whatever opportunity we have now to practice chanting, to meet with the devotees, serve the devotees, do the right thing and leave away the wrong thing. We try now, because actually we have a good opportunity. Whatever we have now is good opportunity. And the future, if we waste this opportunity, we don't know the next moment, the next week, the next anything, what is our circumstance or the circumstance of the world.
Yes.
And Jim saying here, thank you so much, Tungarasa Didi, for finding this amazing essay by Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Yes, yes, indeed. Thank you, Tungarasa. And Jim is saying that.
I missed that. What was that particularly, Mo?
Oh, okay. Prabhu, I'll send you a copy, because that's one thing with Zoom. When you join it, then you don't see what was there before. Prabhu, I'll just drop it into your, it's not long. It's just the record of what's taken place. I just dropped it into your Skype.
Thank you. I'm happy I was able to join with you today, because I had an appointment and didn't know if I'd make it back in time, but at least for a few minutes.
Prabhu, we are happy you are here too. And you're joined by other very good British accents from both Robert and Jim, who we've been chatting with each other, and they've got very, very British English accents. Hare Krishna. Yes, and Devashish, is there any point you'd like to bring up? We're in the West London temple. We're with a wonderful group of devotees from literally all over the world.
Well, nothing really comes to mind. I've just, as I said, happy to be with everybody here this evening. And, I don't know what you spoke about, the subject, emotion or devotion, but it was...
Nothing about the subject. Was the subject? Nothing about the subject.
Oh dear. Never mind. That's okay. I mean, they're only springboards, really, aren't they? Only things to give us a platform, something to begin our talk from. But I do remember that, especially in the last years, Gurudev often mentioned this. Is it emotion or is it devotion? And we have to be conscious about that, and not to mistake one for the other. Of course, devotion produces some kind of transcendental emotion when it's real, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about mundane emotion. And generally devotees that I know, that I've seen, that I've met, that, whoever we've come in contact with, generally we see that devotees are very soft-hearted people. And soft-hearted people, they have a tendency to be a little emotional sometimes. But, so that, they may be moved emotionally by many things. Like I can say, for what reason, I have no idea. But if I'm ever at a wedding, I must cry. I can't help it. See, that makes me cry. Just because I'm an emotional kind of fellow. But, then similarly, sometimes we see, in the devotional atmosphere, sometimes devotees can become very emotional, moved by everything that they're experiencing or seeing, or, but we must understand that and be very careful to check that is not actually a symptom of devotion. It's more a symptom of the soft-hearted nature of that person. And we shouldn't think that if we shed some tear or something, that emotion is actually devotion, because otherwise we'll be misled. And we heard from Guru Maharaj that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, even when he was affected by real devotional emotion, if you like, that he would very, very carefully check that so as not to show that in public. And, you know, Guru Maharaj said that very carefully. He checked himself always. And so, you know, we need to be conscious about that and, you know, understand that there is a big gulf of difference between emotion and devotion, emotion from this side and what is really devotion. And sometimes we may mistake one for the other, or we may see someone being very emotional and think that they're showing so much real devotion. But generally those who have real devotion, they don't like to show that in the public eye. And sometimes it can just be a cheap thing. We heard, when I first went to Bury Place, which was the first temple that I went to, right back in the late 70s in London, which was Prabhupada's temple there. I heard from the temple president at that time, his name was Hari Krishna Das, and he told me that when Prabhupada stayed there, that there was an Indian man who used to come there, and whenever they would open the curtains for the darshan of the deities, he would like fall into a swoon on the floor and seemingly become unconscious. And the devotees, they asked Srila Prabhupada, you know, this man, he's always coming here and doing this, and like, what should we do? What should we do? What does it mean? You know, what should we do? And Prabhupada told them, kick him in the head. And, and I don't know if they did or not, but he said, kick him in the head. And if he doesn't react to that, then you should offer your humble obeisances to him. So because, you know, feigning some kind of divine emotion, but a boot in the head will often bring you around from that if it is feigned. But if it's real, nothing will alter that. So Prabhupada, I think that was Prabhupada's idea, you know, that if it's real, then a boot in the head is not going to disturb him in any way whatsoever. So anyway, it's a very rare thing. That's all we can say, that real devotion is very rare. And those who have it, they do not like to show it, you know, in the public eye. So, but for our own self, what we are feeling within ourselves, you know, when we practice devotional service in all of its facets, we should be very careful to understand that if we do feel some emotion, that it is just that emotion and not really devotion. And if we're not sure, we should consult with devotees who are actually fixed in Krishna consciousness and, you know, reveal our mind to them and check with them. I have this feeling. There's another, you know, Prabhupada said, but when somebody said, you know, I feel, you know, when I'm in the kirtan, I get some like tingling in my body and I start to think I'm feeling some kind of ecstasy. And Prabhupada said, just carry on chanting, it'll go away, don't worry. So, you know, he didn't think, you know, obviously it's a very rare thing. So, you know, somebody may say, oh, I'm feeling this or I'm feeling that. But just carry on, it'll go away. Don't be deceived by it. Don't be misled by it. That's kind of what I wanted to say. And Gurudev, especially, I remember that he was very particular about this in the last few years, to tell us, is it emotion or is it devotion? And we want to move away from emotion to real devotion. All right.
Well, Devashis Prabhu, thank you very much, because I didn't even register the title this week. Somehow I was overwhelmed with all the devotees who were present in the temple room here in West London.
Okay, nice.
And we've been reading some excerpts from letters from Dignity of the Divine Servitor, and I just was wanting in my emotional way to share some of those. We had maybe 4 of these excerpts of small parts, the last part of Dignity called Jewels.
Oh yeah.
So they're just so to the Gurudev, just so to the point and so clear, and pointing out how rare an opportunity and chance we've got, and that we must go on. We must go on. It doesn't matter about the world being crazy. And Gurudev is saying the world's crazy. This is more than 30 years ago. I mean, it's not just today it's crazy. So the world is always a crazy place, but we must be firm in our devotional journey.
Yes,
so thank you for addressing the title of this week's the theme. And by the way, I hope it'll be okay with everybody, but after a little discussion with West London, means with Saraswati and with Devashis Prabhu, and then we're hoping it'll be okay with everybody that starting next week, we're going to move actually from...
Sorry, Maharaj, to interrupt. I think that I had to consult with all the devotees, and they said that some of the devotees who normally join, they go on Harinam on Saturday. That's another...
Okay, we'll leave everything as it is then for now, is it?
For now, I think for now we can continue on Monday because there is no other alternative at the moment.
Okay, so just rewind and edit that part that I was just about to say, or I got caught in time before saying it. So next week will be, okay, so now I can say next week, same time, same place. And maybe Saraswati, yourself or one of the devotees would just like to make just a little tour of the temple where we've come to, the West London temple, next, for the next visit, so we can see some picture of the outside and something like this, so we can introduce. Now we're a bit late, but if you want to, we can't hear you. Your microphone's off.
We were in the prasadam hall. Here we do take prasadam and do many of the packing for the distribution. And on that side is the office. Here, office and temple room. Walking the temple room, here is the reception area, the entrance. The kitchen, Lavanya Maji is here.
Jai Lavanya Moyi Devi Dasi, one of the pillars of the West London temple.
Right, the connection might be...
Yeah, we're losing the connection. I think you're going away from the Wi-Fi. Oops.
Can you hear me?
No.
No, because it's a different connection down there.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take you quickly to the other area here. This is the devotee kitchen. Here is Vishnupriya washing the dishes.
Hare Krishna.
And from this door, you can see the kitchen again.
Yes.
And here is the Tulasi house outside.
Jai.
You can hear the airplanes too. This is the patio, but now it's dark to go outside.
Yes, can you just show the end of the building so we can see? I was explaining about the windows and about the style of the building. So now the devotees can see. You can see it's a brick building, and this is the back of it, and the front is like bigger. But this style, it's church kind of style. I don't know the history of it exactly.
Maharaj, it was an old school.
Oh, it was an old school. Oh, okay.
Well, the locals call it the old school.
Yeah, well, we're old school. We chant Hare Krishna. Okay, Saraswati Didi. Next week, let us have darshan of Sri Gauranga Sundar Radha Giridhari Ju. You can arrange the other Wi-Fi connection for next week. All right.
We will do it. Yes.
Somebody speaking? No. Okay. All right. So, dear devotees, very happy to be with you for over an hour, hour or so. We're very happy to be with each other to share a few things. And whether we are together just for a few minutes or for an hour or longer, try always to remember something from every kind of gathering that you're in with the devotees. We always try to, oh, there must be something here for me. Krishna's brought me into this, to hear these things and to be in this gathering. So we always try to remember something and try to do something as well as remember if something has inspired us. So we're in the same class as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Robert, thank you for pointing that out. And this was actually one of the reasons why I selected this, to remind ourselves these opportunities really don't come every day. All right, and now Chintamani Didi is showing her form, her Santa Barbara form, and Rupanuga Prabhu showing his Australian New South Wales form to us in the morning. Hare Krishna, Rupanuga Prabhu. All right, dear devotees, Jai Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. And Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Sri Rupanuga Guru Bhaga ki Jai.
Jai.
And Jai Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai.
Jai.
And Jai Vishwaranya Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai. Jai Shrimati Tulsi Devi ki Jai. West London Mat ki Jai. East London Mat ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Brinda ki Jai. Jai. Jai Sripad Devashis Prabhu, the Secretary of the London chapter of Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat ki Jai. And Jai Saraswati Devi and Dasi, who almost single-handedly, okay, with the help from her friends, but running everything from the very beginning, the West London Mat, and a champion of the Seva there. So Saraswati Devi Dasi ki Jai. And all of the assembled devotees, all of you deserve Jai Jais, as we were saying before about Shri Shris. So Jai Jais to all of you. Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
Jai Shri Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj.
Sarubhyascha Kripla Sindhuvi Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. Dandavat Pranam to you all, and Subhasini also showing her form to us too. And Subhasini Didi, today I got a very nice message from Jai Kumar Prabhu with some descriptions of the South Indian pilgrimage places and giving us some hankering for again some pilgrimage in India. Let's see what will be.
Thank you.
All right. Dandavat, all devotees, all sincere seekers, very happy to have you with us. Have a wonderful week. Chant Hare Krishna. Be happy. Sound, sound, sound. The holy name, the holy name, the holy name.